The winter sun shone sharply over the sprawling white marble cemetery as hundreds of high-profile guests gathered in silence. Dozens of cameras hovered like metallic birds, clicking as the casket of Helena Ward, one of the most respected billionaires in the city, rested above the burial ground. Her sudden passing had stunned the world. Newspapers had called it a tragic collapse, doctors had declared her gone, and her board had already started replacing her. Everyone accepted her death. Everyone, except the janitor who had worked in her company for 15 years. The same janitor who now sprinted up the hill, breathless, desperate, and shouting words no one expected to hear, "She's not dead." His voice crashed through the quiet like a stone through glass, and every head snapped toward him. But if you believe in kindness, miracles, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Grandma's book. Your support keeps these emotional stories alive, the crowd murmured in disbelief as the janitor, a humble middle-aged man named Samuel Hale, pushed through rows of wealthy mourners who looked at him with shock and annoyance. His uniform was wrinkled, shoes still damp from rushing across the dew-covered grass, but none of that mattered. His hands trembled as he pointed at the casket, insisting he had seen Helena's fingers move that morning. He had been cleaning the private medical wing, something he rarely did, when he noticed a slight twitch beneath the sheet covering her body. At first he thought it was grief playing tricks on him, but then her chest gave the faintest rise. He shouted for help, but the wing was empty. When he returned with a nurse, Helena had already been moved for the funeral preparations. No one believed him, and he spent hours running from one official to another, begging them to stop the ceremony. But no one listened. They called it denial. They called it confusion. They called it impossible, and now, standing between the casket and the grieving crowd, Samuel felt the weight of every disbelieving stare. The chilly air filled with tension as security approached to remove him. But before they could touch him, Samuel stepped closer to the casket and begged the officiator to check for a pulse. The officiator, overwhelmed but curious, hesitated. And in that hesitation, something happened that froze everyone. The casket trembled. Not violently, but just enough for several nearby guests to gasp. A faint sound followed, a soft, shallow breath, like someone fighting their way to the surface after being lost underwater. The color drained from the faces of Helena's family members. The silence broke into chaos as the casket was opened, and there she was, Helena Ward, pale but undeniably alive, her eyelashes fluttering as daylight touched her face. Paramedics rushed forward, lifting her carefully and placing her on a stretcher. Samuel stood frozen in place, adrenaline crashing out of his body as relief washed over him so intensely that he felt his knees weaken. People who had moments ago dismissed him stared now with awe, shame, and disbelief. Helena's brother stepped toward Samuel, his voice cracking as he whispered gratitude. But Samuel shook his head gently. It wasn't heroism, he thought. It was simply refusing to ignore what his heart knew was true. Hours later, Helena lay in a private hospital room recovering, surrounded by doctors who admitted they had never seen a case like hers. Her condition, a rare and extreme form of temporary catalepsy, had slowed her pulse to a point nearly undetectable. It was Samuel's persistence, his refusal to accept death without certainty, that had saved her. When Helena finally woke and fully understood what had happened, she asked to see him. As sunlight poured through the window, she reached out for his hand, overwhelmed by a mix of gratitude and shock. She told him how she had heard faint noises while trapped in that immobile darkness, how she felt distant voices around her, and how one voice, his, cut through the fog with desperation and hope. In the days that followed, the city buzzed with headlines about the janitor who saved a billionaire's life at her own funeral. Some called it fate. Some called it a miracle. Samuel returned to work quietly, uncomfortable with the sudden attention. His colleagues treated him like a hero, but he brushed it aside, explaining that anyone with a conscience would have done the same. Yet the truth was, not everyone would have fought as fiercely as he did, especially when the world insisted he was wrong. That courage impressed Helena deeply. When she was discharged from the hospital, Helena visited Samuel personally. Wearing a simple coat, looking far from the powerful figure the world knew, she walked through the custodian hallways until she found him mopping the polished floor. She thanked him with a sincerity that made his eyes sting. She told him that people like him, people who see what others miss, are the soul of the world. Then she did something he never expected. She offered him a position far beyond janitorial work, a role overseeing employee welfare and workplace integrity, something she said needed someone with his heart. Samuel accepted after much hesitation, unsure if he was worthy. Helena assured him that people who act out of pure humanity are always worthy. Under daylight streaming through her office windows, she told him that his courage had rewritten her life, and she wanted him to help her reshape the company with that same honesty and compassion. From that day, Samuel's life transformed. Not with fame or luxury, though both touched him, but with purpose. He became someone who helped others when no one else listened, and Helena supported him every step of the way. Their lives remained intertwined, not by wealth or status, but by a moment in time when a janitor's belief in life defied death itself.